Hello, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Great to see everybody. My name's TJ. I'm the program coordinator here at the library. What a great crowd we've got. This is great. It doesn't surprise me at all because we've got one of our favorite speakers. Just a couple of reminders. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you turn off or silence your cell phone, please. Also, just want to remind everybody that we really are in the core of our programming season. We've got all kinds of great things happening right now. So if you haven't already, you can pick one up of our current program guide, which is in the back of the room, celebrating our 30th anniversary here. And then yes, thank you very much, 30 years of Rancho Mirage Library. So it's been great to celebrate. And with that, we have lined up an amazing series of programs, not only through this month, but for the next 3 months. And that now is available in the back as well. So it's the same little program guide. It's got a coyote on the cover. So a lot of really cool local wildlife that we're featuring here in the next few months. So the other thing I wanted to say was thank you to the Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory Foundation. Some of you might not know, but the foundation is a nonprofit arm that funds all of the programming that we do. So being able to bring in great speakers, bringing in the bands that we do, showing films, and actually almost all of the books and the magazine subscriptions and all of the materials that we have, all of that is paid for through the Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory Foundation, which is funds that have to be raised every year. So if you're interested in supporting that, it's very easy to do. There's a lot of ways you can do that. You can find out more information on our website or just ask any staff member. And then I just want to welcome you and encourage everyone, there is a program almost every day for the next 6 weeks. So if I look a little tired, if Stephen in the back looks tired, that's why, but we love it. We love having you here, and we're so glad you're here with us today. So to introduce today's speaker, Mr. James Cornett. He is truly one of the favorite speakers that we have here, and we always get a great crowd like this. He is going to be speaking on his encounter with a hungry cougar, which should be fascinating. He's such a good speaker. He was just telling me that I was asked recently by another area organization for a local author or speaker, and he said that he was like, were you out there talking about me? I was like, I was out there talking about you because you do a great job. So look for that. He may be speaking at some other places locally. But he's also an amazing author and just a really, really fascinating guy. I know you're going to enjoy today's talk. He lives in Palm Springs, and he actually recently appeared on ABC's Good Morning America, where he discussed the impact of climate change on Joshua trees. And his recent book, which he spoke about last season for us, was The California Deserts, Then and Now. And he does have some of his books here in the back of the room, so be sure to check that out on your way out. So please help me welcome to the stage James Cornett.
Well, it's great to be back and great to see all of you. I know all of you are waiting with bated breath to see how much of me was eaten by a mountain lion. But I've got all my fingers, legs, and so I did obviously survive the encounter, though I'm not sure that it was guaranteed that I would survive, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Well, I'll be glad to answer questions afterwards at the end of the talk and love to hear from you if you have had experiences with mountain lions, maybe similar to my experience. By the way, what you heard when you came in, it sounded like the mountain lion was growling, but most of that was purring, like your cat, except magnified by about 25 times. So it sounds a little bit like growling, I think. I'm going to show you a few slides to begin with, things that I would like you to read so that you'll know a little bit more about the program and the background as we go through it. And we'll start with that right now. And maybe we could turn down the podium light as well. Here we go, I think. Not that one. Let me try that again. Well, I'm pretty sure I pressed the right button. Let's see. Okay. Aha, it was off. There we go. All right. right. So the title of this program is Encounter with the Hungry Cougar, and you'll find out more about the Hungry Cougar as we proceed with the slides. Now, this event happened to me many years ago. After the event, I was in my car and I spent 2 hours writing down what happened in my field notes, because I knew I would never want to forget it, and I haven't, and I'll talk more about that as well. It took place in Arizona, not too far from Tucson, about 50 miles west of Tucson, in the Baboquivari Mountains of south central Arizona. This is Baboquivari Peak. It's a dominant feature in this area and the highest point in the mountain range. My experience took place, though, at Kit Peak, at the very northern tip of those mountains. And there's an observatory up there, and I had gotten permission to go up there early, probably a mistake. The reason I was there is that myself and another biologist we're studying the relationship between reptiles, climate, and habitat diversity and seeing what the relationship was. So I had a legitimate reason to be there, but being confronted by a mountain lion was not one of them. Here's a satellite image of those mountains. You can see Baboquivari Peak is in the background there, and I was eventually going to end up at Kit Peak, which I did, and at the very top on the northern end. The encounter site, my encounter with the mountain lion, occurred along the roadway on the way up to Kit Peak. I got permission to go into that area about several hours before it opened to the public, so several hours before any cars would drive up the road that I had just driven up. So I was alone for a good 3 hours. What I did wrong, number one, I was hiking alone. If you hike alone, you do put yourself in jeopardy in a mountainous terrain. That would be on both sides of the Coachella Valley here. I was hiking alone. I like to hike alone, but maybe I shouldn't have been hiking alone in known mountain lion territory. So that was the first mistake. Hike with a friend, anybody, but don't go alone. Now, I'm parking on the roadway at the top, and at the top of a roadway where there was a large rise that looked down into this canyon and into this wash. So I'm about 60 feet above the roadway where I parked my car, and then I scrambled down this talus slope, rocky slope, down to the wash bottom, and that's where this photograph was taken. And then I proceed up into the canyon, and I was recording, and my compatriot and another canyon who didn't find a mountain lion, he was recording all the reptiles that we see, lizards, snakes, and marking down the elevation and the time that we saw them and the habitat surrounding the spot. So that yellow X there is where I ran into a black-tailed rattlesnake, which was good. I was looking for reptiles, and this is certainly one of them. Quite a spectacular animal. They love to coil and threaten you, but they don't usually strike unless you get too close. I should have known, though. I don't usually see a rattlesnake when I'm hiking the first time out in the morning. So I was a little surprised that happened. Then I go up into the canyon a little bit further where that C is there. And I put that there because then I see, for the first time in my life at that time, I see a coati. Now, coatis are a raccoon-like animal. I actually had one in captivity in my home for about a month one time. They're very curious animals. They'll eat almost anything organic, but they particularly like small animals. And this particular coati was running around on the cliff faces hunting lizards, which I'm sure he got sooner or later. They can travel in large bands, sometimes up to 40 animals. And they're usually, well, let me put it this way. Has anybody ever seen a coati in Mexico when they visit one of the magnificent archaeological sites in that country? Because there's some of them, but they're just coatis all over the place, and they steal purses and sandwiches. And they're very aggressive, and they like to intimidate you. So that you'll drop whatever you're carrying, and then they can see if there's any food there. So I was very excited to see the coati, and within 10 minutes I had seen the black-tailed rattlesnake and the coati. And it was just at that time when I'm looking at the quaddy on the hillside when I hear something moving in the brush on the hillside above me to my right. And it sounded like a large animal. And I look over there, and that's all I saw. Did you see what that was? I'll show it to you again. So I see an animal, kind of a large animal, had a long tail and a black tip. And at that time, I had never seen a mountain lion in the wild. I have friends who have had mountain lions as pets, which I don't recommend, and used to work in a zoo that had mountain lions on exhibition. And so I was familiar with the animal, but I'd never seen it in the wild. And if you're a naturalist in the Southwest, you want to see all the animals at least once. But that was so quick, I wasn't completely sure I had just seen a mountain lion. And I didn't see its head. I just saw the tail end and the hind end of the cat. So that's what I saw. And I thought, I'm pretty sure it was a mountain lion, but I'm not positive. So what I had seen, I thought it was a feline. I thought it was a mountain lion. Some of the felines that we have in the Southwest, particularly in south central Arizona, would be a bobcat, of course. But bobcats have short tails. They're very common around here in the Coachella Valley. But I knew it wasn't a bobcat. In that part of the world, there's another small feline with a long tail called a jaguarundi, and they're actually expanding their range northward into Arizona as we speak. If you live in the Tucson area, some people are starting to see these in their yards. But they're too small. I saw a much, much bigger cat than that. One of the larger cats would be an ocelot, which has been seen in south central Arizona in the past. But again, it was too small. This is an animal that only weighs 34 pounds max, not over 100 pounds like a mountain lion. And then, of course, the jaguar. But jaguar doesn't have a tail with a black tip. It has spots on its tail. Thank God it wasn't a jaguar. I think I wouldn't be here right now. But they are found in south central Arizona, so you always have to consider that possibility. And then there's the mountain lion. So I kind of, in my mind, I went through all the potential cats, and I thought, I'm almost sure that was a mountain lion. But if you're a naturalist, you have to be positive. You have to be sure that's what you're seeing. So what does a naturalist do? Well, first let me explain a few things about mountain lions. I keep saying mountain lion, and that's the word that I use. But if you're in Florida, you'll call them a panther. All right? And if you're in Canada, they call them cougars. But it's all the same animal. Mountain lion, cougar, panther, all the very same animal. The scientific name is Puma concolor, and a lot of my biologist friends will sometimes refer to a mountain lion as a puma, which is fine. It's okay with me. Interestingly enough, you see in that map that it has the widest range of any of the cats I've already shown you. In fact, any cat in the world does not extend over so many degrees of latitude as does the mountain lion. So it's very wide-ranging, widespread cat in the Western Hemisphere. A little bit about the cougar life cycle, gestation period, 3 months for a female, time until maturity, 18 months for females, a little bit shorter for males. Weaning can begin at 3 months, and then the female brings home food for the young. By the way, and I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but males play absolutely no role in raising the offspring. It's all the female's responsibility, and I detest that. I want to go on record for everybody knowing that I don't approve of that at all, but that's the way it is. Must be great to be a male mountain lion, I guess. Don't have to do anything. Now, an important thing, and I put it in yellow on this list, is that mothers usually bring food, or they always bring food to their offspring, and the food that all of her offspring will eat as adults will be things that she brought them as a cub. Okay, that's really important for my story. So unless there's a mountain lion feeding on people, bringing arms and legs of humans to the cubs, it will be unfamiliar, and it's very unlikely that they will attack a person for food, except in my case. I don't know if I should be insulted. Do I look that juicy? I'm not sure. Litter size varies between 2 and 6. Length of adolescence about 1 to 2 years. I should mention that if the female comes in estrus again, or when she does, I should say, if the cubs haven't left her side by that time, the new male that wants to mate with their mother will kill the cubs. So it's really important that she drive the cubs away before she gets into estrus and will attract a male mountain lion. And I already mentioned that males play no role in raising the cubs. There's no mate fidelity. A lot of litters by a female mountain lion will have been fathered by more than one male. So one female can have the offspring of 1, 2, or even 3 males. That's possible. I don't like that either. Stupid. Okay. All right. Big thing to remember, though, is that mountain lions eat what they're brought to them by their mother. The foods they're familiar with, and she makes a point of giving them everything that she eats, so they're familiar with it. A little cub. I show you the cub because cubs and young mountain lions have spots. And that's another important thing for this story, and they are cute. My friend who had a mountain lion was really tame. You could pet it and scratch its belly, and it purred really loud, almost frighteningly loud. And they are nice, cute animals when they're not hungry and not considering you. This is a 60-pound mountain lion, but you can see the faint spots still. So if you see a mountain lion has faint spots, it's a younger animal and probably not even 100 pounds yet in weight. Those are coyotes that have chased this mountain lion up on that fence there. Coyotes like to chase cats. So the question is, had I seen a mountain lion? I'd never seen one before, and I had to confirm that observation that I had. So what do? I go up the hillside to where I heard the sound. I wasn't sure that it was a mountain lion, but I had to make sure. I had to see if I could see it again. And so there's my path up the hill to that question mark where I heard and saw a cat of some sort. So what did I do wrong? Number 2, I followed a large unidentified animal into dense brush. I suppose that goes without saying, but not for me. That's exactly what I did, and I kind of paid a price for that, I guess. Now, the good news about this, though, is this made me eligible for the Darwin Award. And I love prizes and awards. This award is awarded annually to the person whose stupidity is likely to result in their removal from the gene pool. One of the problems about being a naturalist is that you get excited when you think you might be able to see an animal that you'd never seen before. Now, here's some things in my defense, why I shouldn't get the award. At the time that this happened, there was only one recorded death from a mountain lion in my home state here in California. Only one. And that was 150 years of data collection. And I knew that. I had read that. Everyone knows that wild animals are terrified of humans. And after all, at first, the mountain lion did move away from me. So I was trailing it. It wasn't trailing me. At least that's what I thought. When you get excited, you lose rational thought processes. At least I do. I'd never seen a mountain lion. I wanted to tell all my friends I saw a mountain lion, and maybe even but you need to get a good look. You have to be positive. I didn't have my camera with me, but I certainly would have taken a picture early on had I had a camera. And then this is true now. Besides, I had recalled seeing Randolph Scott kill an animal or kill an attacking mountain lion with a tree branch in a movie when I was 12 years old. And I remembered that. And you remember Randolph Scott, okay? He's a big guy, strapping, relatively young man. And if he picks up a stick and kills a mountain lion, I'll be damned if I can't do it too. Another big mistake. Okay, so what do? Well, I have to come down the hillside. It's too steep. I was trying to pull myself up the hillside by grabbing branches, and it was just too steep. The footing was bad. And so I make a third mistake, and that is I can't go any further up, so I'm going to have to go back down to the wash, and I'm never going to see a mountain lion again. But when I go down, instead of carefully walking slowly down, I kind of lope down in almost a run, if you will. And I'm going down the hillside back to the wash bottom. So when I get to the wash bottom, I hear something in the brush again. I turn, and there is a mountain lion coming right towards me. And it's kind of interesting because I didn't panic, at least not at that moment. In fact, what was really interesting is that I thought I knew that it was going to stop. I am a human, Homo sapiens. I am bigger and stronger than you, or I don't know, I thought. And he's going to stop where he did. And he did stop because I turned after I had gotten down to the hillside. When I heard the noise, I turned, and now I'm facing the mountain lion. And I'm so startled to see this mountain lion running at me, I just kind of freeze. But that got the mountain lion to stop. Because remember, I was unfamiliar prey. The last thing a predator wants to do is get into a fight where it might even be slightly injured, because if a mountain lion has a sprained ankle, he's probably going to die. If he can't go for 7, 8, 9, 10 days without food, he's going to starve to death. So unfamiliar prey is a big thing, and I was unfamiliar prey. So what I did right, I turned and faced the mountain lion. But I have to confess, I turned and faced the mountain lion, not because I knew there was a mountain lion coming after me, but because I heard a sound coming. And I turned to see what it was. So I wish I could say, if I face the mountain lion, I'll be safe. That really wasn't the motivation at the time. So I'm staring at this mountain lion. He's about 20 feet away from me. My wife keeps telling me that the mountain lion keeps getting closer and closer to me each time I tell the story. But it was about 20 feet away. And we're standing there looking at it, and my first thought was astonishment. I thought, mountain lions don't do this. They don't, they're not going to come after me. I am Homo sapiens, and we're the most ruthless predator the world has ever known. So he's definitely making a big mistake. That's what I thought in my mind. I actually thought about that. I thought he's going to turn around and run back up the hillside when he realizes who he's confronting. So I thought. So to scare the mountain away, I start wildly waving my arms around. I stomp my feet. I yell at the cat, use some profanity. Later, I remembered that they probably don't know what that means. But in any event, I was doing all the things that seemed like natural to scare a predator away. And he didn't get frightened in the least. He just kept staring at me. I'm pretty sure now that mountain lions don't blink ever. Because I can tell you, this cat, his eyes were on me. He never blinked, and he just stared at me in kind of a semi-crouch. So he wasn't in a big crouch, just a little bit. All of his elbows and knees were bent a bit, and never took his eyes off me. And there was something else that the mountain lion did that really started getting me scared. A lot of you probably had domestic cat, and maybe the domestic cat has trapped a bird or a mouse. And I remember my cat, his tail would start moving around like this. And when my domestic cat did that, he was about ready to pounce on the mouse. And the waving of the tail distracts the mouse to the other end of the cat so that his lethal claws and teeth are closer to the mouse, and the mouse may hesitate, or the bird might hesitate just long enough for him to be pounced upon by the cat. That tail wagging really I realized this was probably not good. And then the eyes. I love this picture of a domestic cat. Just laser focus on you. And it was, I started to get a little unnerved, to say the least. So the disbelief that he would attack me starts giving way to fear. And I don't recall that I've ever been as frightened as I was at the moment when I realized the mountain lion was considering attacking me and making a meal of me. That scared me. And I started to realize that was happening. Now, about 5 minutes had gone by since I first saw the mountain lion, and I'm standing there trying to figure out what should I do. So I start slowly backing up. I knew enough not to turn and run. I just started slowly backing up, getting maybe to 25 feet. And then as soon as I back up the first time, he jumps at me. He leaps as far as he can, and now he's about 2 feet from me. Well, okay, 12 feet from me. But he's clearly close enough that he could leap on me in a heartbeat, and there would be no way that I could get away. When he leapt at me, then any doubt I had as to what the mountain lion's intentions were had vanished. I now knew that I was being considered, probably seriously considered, as prey for this hungry mountain lion. And that was when I got really scared. I've never been scared like that in all my life. Well, sometimes when my wife says I have to do the dishes, I get a little frightened, but not normally. And for me, what the fright meant is that you start sweating, kind of get a cold sweat, particularly on your back. And I felt like my knees were going to give out. My legs seemed to be losing their strength. And you feel so vulnerable. There's nobody around, nobody to call for help. I got permission to go up that road early, long before the scientists came up to the observatory and the public came an hour after that. I was scared. Probably the most frightened I've ever been in my entire life. And I keep thinking, I'll yell some more. I yell more profanity, stomp my feet, wave my arms. I used the lowest voice I had. No, didn't faze the mountain lion. None of that stuff fazed the mountain lion, except for the fact that he didn't attack me right then. So what can I do? I think, well, I'll put some more distance. I'll try that trick again. So I slowly start to back up, and I get another 5 or 10 feet, and he jumps at me again. I think the amazing thing about the second time he jumped at me was that I didn't soil myself. And I didn't cry. But it was like there was nothing I could do. I started to feel helpless. And that's really a bad place to be when you're being intimidated by anything, but particularly if you feel there's nothing you're going to be able to do. I kept thinking about Randolph Scott, it's bizarre. So he's close. He's really close. And now we're going on, it's about 15, 20 minutes have passed now. And when you're scared, your legs, I really felt like I was going to collapse. I was just going to collapse on the ground, which would not have been a good thing to do. I can't escape the mountain lion. I'm here. We're faced. He's looking at me. I'm looking at it. He's scaring me. I don't think he was scared in the least. Not at all. I back up a third time. Actually, I end up backing 4 times, but I'm going to abbreviate this a little bit. So I back up the last time. I get another 5, 10 feet, and he jumps at me again. I know what he was trying to do was to get me to turn and run. As I look back, there's no question about that. But the last time I back up, there's something else that I back up into. On the wash was a large stick about twice the size of a baseball bat. And I think a weapon. I mean, I remember that came to my head, and I didn't think about Randolph Scott anymore after that. But anyway, I thought of a weapon, so I slowly, in slow motion, lean down, and I pick up the stick. And everything changed in my mind at that point, because I had a weapon now, and it was a pretty big weapon. And I went from being as fearful of a mountain lion, of anything as I could ever be, to feeling angry. I started getting mad because I was being intimidated by this creature, and I had a weapon, and I thought, damn it, if he comes and gets me, I'm going to get one good whack in, and he'll regret the day he ever attacked me. But I felt that way, and I probably was standing up straighter, And I started swinging the stick, cussing again. I've never used so many cuss words in all my life as that mountain lion. If you only knew what I was saying. And I started swinging that stick back and forth, and I felt powerful. And I have to tell you, there was something primeval that came out of me at that moment. Something happened in my brain. And I found this picture on the internet, and but I have to confess, something comes out from when you, with a weapon in your hand, I felt more powerful. And I felt like now there was something I could do. And I have a feeling that I conveyed that aggressive behavior to the mountain lion for the first time. You know, he's looking at a scaredy cat up until this guy had the stick, and now he's swinging it at me, and he's using words I've never heard before. And so I really thought, like, emotionally, I was dipping deep into my brain for something very primeval, something that was in our brain from thousands of years ago when we first evolved in the African continent and started using weapons. I really, even when I think about it today, I feel that there was something back there that made me feel stronger and more aggressive. So I start backing up, swinging the stick, and now I get 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet away, and he doesn't jump, he doesn't move, he's still in that semi-crouch, and I'm backing up into the talus, that rocky slope that led up to the roadway where my car was. And I had to make a decision. I'm gonna have to turn and my back on the mountain lion and run up that slope. And that's exactly what I did. And I must have moved pretty fast because it seemed like I was on that slope for 1 second. And I got up to the roadway. And the first thing I did was I jumped in my car and I locked the door. Because mountain lions don't know how to unlock car doors. I'm pretty sure of that. So that was my encounter with the mountain lion. The mountain lion, I looked, I was watching him. What he did after that, he sat down in the wash, never moved back, never. And he started washing his face as though he really wanted to insult me, that he was not afraid of me in any way. And then eventually he went up the hillside, and then he got on a rock, perched on a rock and started washing his face again. He never even looked in my direction. I was so insulted. But I got away. This whole thing played out over 35 minutes. From the time I first saw him till I got in my car. I've never been as frightened as I was. So the real question is, why didn't the cougar attack me? He clearly was hungry. He was hunting. He thought I might be a nice prey item, but he didn't. He could have, and I'm sure that I would have lost. So the first issue that comes up is, was I more intimidating when I had that weapon? Maybe I wasn't actually more intimidating, but maybe I was conveying more aggression, less fear, and maybe that played some minor role in getting the mountain lion to not come any further after that. The other thing is that humans stand tall, so we're already unfamiliar prey, but we look a lot bigger than we are. Our eyes are about the same level as a horse, but a horse, outweighs us by 10 times or nearly so. So we stand tall, we look big. And that's in our advantage when a predator who's unfamiliar with hunting humans, thank God, is facing us as we look bigger, perhaps more intimidating than we really are. The normal prey of mountain lion would be white-tailed deer, a little bit to the east of here, mule deer. Mountain lions can bring down elks, and there have been records of bull elks being brought down by a female mountain lion. They hunt bighorn sheep in our mountains around here. This photograph, by the way, was taken in my backyard. I know. They love ryegrass. He came back 2 days in a row for the ryegrass. They will take cottontails from time to time, and ground squirrels, and then hummingbirds. No, I'm kidding. They don't eat hummingbirds. They don't eat hummingbirds. They never eat hummingbirds. Okay. So unfamiliar prey, we stand tall, And then the mountain lion lived in that area, obviously. He was familiar with that area. I think the mountain lion is well aware that sometime in mid-morning, cars start coming up the road. Remember, I was probably not more than 50 yards from the road, and anybody on the road could have easily seen me in the mountain lion. So the mountain lion is prepared for cars and people coming up the roadway. And predators don't like to be interrupted when they're hunting for obvious reasons, thank God. And I think that contributed too, because by the time I had gone on my very short hike before I had the encounter with the mountain lion, it was starting to get to the point where another 15 minutes, the scientists were going to start driving up the road to go to work in the morning. And mountain lion lived in the area, probably well aware of that, and probably stayed away from the road during that time period. Now, what's interesting is that even telling this story, I still get a little bit queasy. When I start thinking back about what happened, what a frightening experience it was, I'm remembered of the fear that I faced at that time. I thought to myself, some kind of post-traumatic stress syndrome, maybe. I have to tell you one more part about this story, because I didn't become most fearful until I got back and started reading everything I could find about mountain lions. I knew, nothing really about them prior to that. So I started doing a lot of reading and research on mountain lions to try to get an idea of just how much in danger I really was. I show you this picture because back in the 1700s, the Spanish who lived in California at that time would capture grizzly bears, and sometimes, grizzly bears in Southern California, and they would pull the grizzly bear into the arena and then have it battle to the death with bulls. Have you heard about this? Lloyd Tevis, a former council person, the late Lloyd Tevis, former council person in Rancho Mirage, wrote a book called The California Grizzlies, and he depicted and told about the stories of the Spanish putting bulls in the ring with grizzly bears. Usually the grizzly bear would win, because when the bull would charge, the grizzly bear would grab his horns and start biting his muzzle to suffocate him and kicking on his underside with the claws of the bear. So usually the bear would win. Now, I'm getting to the mountain lion part. Sometimes they tie up the grizzly bear. Horrible. Not a nice thing to do. Now, in that book, there are 3 accounts that people witnessed in grizzly bears and mountain lions facing off. 2 of those accounts happened in arenas. They brought the grizzly bear to the arena. I guess the arena must have had a really tall wall. And then they put the mountain lion in the arena too. The first time the grizzly bear killed the mountain lion. The second time, both the grizzly bear and the mountain lion died of their wounds. Now, I know I can't kill a grizzly bear with a stick. So if a mountain lion can result in a grizzly bear dying, when I read that, I said, because I think I always thought maybe that stick, a good blow, would have driven the mountain lion away. I realized there was no way I was going to get out of that unless the mountain lion decided to let me go. It was his game, not mine at all. The third account was when some early explorers in California observed a grizzly bear and a mountain lion on a large log, and the grizzly bear was trying to get to the other side of the river, and the mountain lion was coming from the other direction, and they met on the log, and they locked into a death grip, and they both fell in the water, and they both drowned. So that was proof that there was no way I was going to beat that mountain lion off with a stick. Absolutely. And I got another fearful event kind of came over my body when I realized that. I later talked to Dick Weaver, who at that time was in charge of the mountain lion program in California for the California Department of Fish and Game, and I told him the story. I was doing some work at University of California, Riverside, and I had lunch with him, and I told him the story. I wanted to see his take on it, and that's what he said: "You're one lucky son of a bitch." That didn't help either when he told me that. Now, I share this information to you. I don't want to scare people about hiking in wilderness areas, but you do need to go with a friend. If you're there alone, you could have the same experience that I had. And now we know there have been over 24 people have been killed by mountain lions in the United States in the last 3 decades. We now know that mountain lions are more likely to attack humans because they encounter humans more often. But I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just going to give you some things that you can do so that if you do end up being stalked or confronted with a mountain lion, you'll be able to follow some of the things I did and some of the things you don't want to do. So the first thing you can do is never go hiking, never leave your house. You'll be safe. A mountain lion's not going to break into your house and get you. That won't happen, I promise you. Okay. The first thing, though, is do not run. If you run, he will attack. You'll trigger the pursuit response in the mountain lion, and he's going to attack you. So you turn and you face the cougar, and you don't back away. And that's the very best thing. I did it kind of by accident, but now I can tell you that it works. The other thing you can do is start yelling and screaming. I don't have any direct evidence that helped. But all the people I've ever talked to who are familiar with mountain lions say that yelling, screaming, waving your arms, because when you wave your arms, you look even bigger, stomping your feet, those are all things that will make the mountain lion take a second look at what he's doing. Remember, you're always going to be unfamiliar prey. And that's in your favor because these mountain lions never were fed humans by their mother. So yelling and screaming is pretty good. I always like to say that humans yell and scream better than any other mammal in the continental United States. So do it. Use that technique. The backing away, which I did experimentally, but I've talked to other people now that that's a really good thing to do. Never turn your back on the mountain lion, but back up very, very slowly. And it worked for me, kind of. If you can pick up something, bring out that caveman in you. Stick or rock, throw rocks if you can reach them, but don't turn your back on them. That's the big thing. Anything you can do to propel an object in the mountain lion's direction is a good thing to do because there isn't any other prey animal that can do that. And that's another thing that makes you even more unfamiliar to the mountain lion. If you have a dog, keep your dog on a leash, but hike with your dog. Mountain lions don't like dogs, even little dogs. They have been known to kill and eat smaller dogs and even some medium-sized dogs, but they don't like the barking and the yipping of dogs. So if you're with a dog, now you're actually in a group. And the mountain lion is going to detect that, and that will give you some added protection. And of course, with regard to the dog, the bigger the better. No question about it. It's amazing what you can do with Photoshop. So anyway, that was my encounter. And those are some of the reasons that I was able to escape this encounter, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time. Maybe we could have the house lights up too. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, right up here. Did I pray? No. I confess that I never thought about that. Interesting question, though. Never thought about that. If you're silent and you turn your eyes away from the mountain lion and you're in the typical prey posture position, probably wouldn't be good. If you're going to pray, do it openly, loudly, and staring at the mountain lion. Yes? It appeared to be a male. Although it was always faced me, when he got back up on the hillside, it looked, you know what I'm talking about, it looked like it was a male. But it was pretty far then, and so I'm not positive that it was a male, but I think it was. I estimate the weight to be about 140 pounds, if I had to guess, and it's a guess. Yes, way back there. Yes, you. Did I consider throwing rocks at the mountain lion? No, because there were no rocks in the wash. It was all sand. There were no rocks. It was just that stick. Had there been rocks, I would have definitely thrown them at the mountain lion. And again, remember, that's behavior that a mountain lion would never have experienced. And so that makes you even stranger and even less likely, in my opinion, to be attacked. Yes, right here in front. That's a really good question. The question is, now that the mountain lion confronted me, and although he didn't prey on me, he didn't have a negative experience either. In other words, he didn't get hurt. I didn't hit him with a stick. I didn't throw a rock at him or anything. So is he more likely to attack a human next time? I would probably say yes. I think that since the outcome was neutral and the mountain lion did not get injured in any way, I think he would consider doing that even more likely the next time. Now, I might have been the next time. I don't know. A lot of people go up to Kitt Peak Observatory and they hike around a lot, and so I'm sure that he's seen people before. There could have been another encounter, and maybe I was luckier than I realized. Yes, way back there. Question is, did I ever consider approaching the mountain lion? In other words, not just approaching the mountain lion. I think that would be interesting to try, but I'll let you do that. He was really close, sometimes less than 20 feet. Actually, less than 2 feet, I'm pretty sure. Yes, way back there by the door. It would have been in July, the summer. And one of the reasons I wanted to get out there early was because it was pretty warm even, in the morning. I was out there at first light. Other questions? Yes, right here. How old? How old? This is about 20 years ago this happened. So I would have been in my 40s, 50s, 60s. A good 20 years ago. Yeah. Yes, in the blue shirt. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
There were two brothers, I believe, and they were stalked. And they tried to fight off the mountain lion. And one of them went to help, and the other one was, I believe, killed.
I think that's right.
That would be two fatalities
Yeah.
in the same region. But what was most disturbing about the second one was that there were two of them.
Yeah, my thing about hiking with a buddy didn't work. It depends, if the mountain lion is really hungry, desperately hungry, then they'll kind of break with experience and maybe hunt a prey that they aren't familiar with. I would be willing to venture a guess that mountain lion was starving to death, and he really pulled out all the stops. Yes.
I want to add something to your hiking with a buddy. If you're going to hike with a buddy, hike with a buddy who runs slower than you.
I'll do the jokes, okay? Yeah. I always make sure I hike with people that are heavier than I am. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have any advice for somebody who had encountered a mountain lion on a bicycle trail while she was riding the bike?
Yeah, because there have been some attacks of bicyclists on these mountain trails with dirt biking and all that. It's when you're on a bike, you become even more unfamiliar. Okay, that's an important thing to remember with regard to any predator, but certainly mountain lions. And you look a little bigger. You've got the bike and you're going a little faster, which might trigger a pursuit response, more likely, we don't know. I would rather be on a bike in mountain lion territory than on foot. I would say that, that's just my opinion. But since people on foot have been attacked and people on bicycle have been attacked, it's certainly no guarantee. So if you're with other bikers, that are on the trail too, you get some more protection, but it's not guaranteed. I do want to emphasize, though, because I don't want people to think that mountain lions are bad, that we should get rid of them all because they might attack a person. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that we should take precautions when we're in mountain lion territory. Remember the things that you've heard today here, and follow that advice, and you're going to be safe 99.999% of the time. Considering the number of people that hike in the mountains of not just California, but throughout the western United States, mountain lion attacks are far less likely to harm people than lightning strikes, for example. So just be aware, of what you're doing, where you're going. By the way, after that event, I bought my first handgun, and I carried it in my pack for 2 years when I was out hiking, because I love wildlife, but if it comes down to me or the mountain lion, and if I would have had a gun, I would have shot it. But I would have probably shot in the air first, and that alone would drive the mountain lion away. Any string. I guess you could carry firecrackers with you and have the same effect. Yes, way back there in the last row.
Pepper spray and loud horns are on the market. They're for hikers, feral bears, and other wild animals. What do you think about that?
I think pepper spray, loud horns, any of those deterrents are a good thing to carry with you in your pack, because some of those pepper sprays will go up to 25 feet, I believe. The one I have, it says it goes 25 feet. But I do carry that now, more because in the last few years I've been in bear country a lot, and that's the reason I carry it with me. But I have it in my backpack and in my car at all times. And that big helps. Good advice. Yes, right here.
There's been, you said 2 dozen lethal attacks on humans by mountain lions in the state of California in the last however many years?
I don't think it's quite that many in the state of California. I think I got that figure in the western United States, and it's a minimum of 2 dozen. Yeah, it's probably, I haven't looked at the statistics coming in the last year, but before that it would have been at least 2 dozen people. And the incidents are going to increase because there's more people in mountain lion habitat.
Yeah, so is it not likely that some maybe mountain lions have then been fed pieces of humans so that they would...
I'm sorry.
You said the only attack that they've been fed, so if 24 people have been killed, then some of us, the babies, have been fed humans.
So the question is, aren't there some mountain lions out there that have eaten humans and now are ready to go the next time they encounter a person? Some of those, that might be true. I mean, if they successfully kill a person and they feed on the carcass, they'll do it again, guaranteed. Guaranteed. It's not once they break that barrier, it then opens up, and that's one of the reasons why people say if a mountain lion attacks somebody, they go into that area and try to find the mountain lion and kill it. The problem, of course, is that you don't really know if you've killed the mountain lion that attacked the person unless you do some blood tests and genetic tests with the mountain lion you've killed. And yes, right here. Well, thank you very much. I don't know how to tell you this, but I have an electric bike. I'll be happy to answer other questions back there by the books. Thank you very much.